how does your emotional health and emotional intelligence impact how you view God? There's a great book that, I've talked about a number of times, Emotionally Healthy Spirituality by Pete Scazzero. Emotionally Healthy Spirituality by Pete Scazzero. The subtitle is, It's Impossible to be Spiritually Mature while remaining emotionally immature. It's impossible to be spiritually mature while remaining emotionally immature. What is up, EQ gangsters? So check this out. Fascinating conversation today with a lady who said that, hey, I've got a word from God for you. This was after church. So this is what's going to be interesting. How does our EQ, how does our emotional intelligence or emotional health impact how and what we hear from God? And is it God, or is it our feelings and emotions talking, or some other mental framework that we're coming from? So after church, and I had some, I did like it, kind of like announcements and stuff like that, this church we go to. And so up on stage, and I'm wearing a short sleeve shirt, and of course I've got lots of tattoos. Hence EQ gangsta. And so this lady comes up and she says, hey, obviously I don't know you, but I've got a word from God for you. And she's like, look, I'm just, trying to communicate what I feel God is telling me. And so I just, I don't like to do this because it makes me feel very uncomfortable, but I want to tell you what, I want to be obedient to God and tell you what he's telling me. And so, of course, I mentally, spiritually, and emotionally prepare myself, because I've had this a number of times. Sometimes it's been accurate and sometimes it hasn't been accurate. And so, I'm mentally, emotionally, spiritually preparing myself for whatever this lady's about to drop on me, whatever she thinks is from God. She's like, well, and I want to tell you, I want to give you an example of, there was someone at church that I just got done. Also, God had a word to me for them also. And so I'm thinking, okay, maybe this lady's got discernment, or maybe this lady's got, some sort of prophetic gift or something. I don't know, right? I have no idea. I've never met this lady. I've never seen this lady before in my life. And so she says, yeah, so there was this lady in the back row who was wearing an AC/DC shirt on. And so I went back to go talk to her, but she had already, gone out in the foyer. And so, but her husband was there. So I just told her husband, hey, look, God gave me a word that your wife is supposed to take off that AC/DC shirt. Right. And of course I'm processing as she's telling me all this stuff, and that God is just not going to bless your wife if she continues to wear this AC/DC shirt. And so she's like, but the husband said, hey, look, we like this rock group, and it's one of our favorite groups, and so I'm not going to tell her to take her AC/DC shirt off, right? And so she's like, she's like, hey, look, I'm just trying to be obedient to God of what God is telling me to tell you, so I'm just letting you know. And so anyway, so she's like, so as a result, now I'm here with you, and I want to just tell you what God told me that, and I just want to be obedient to God. And so I said, okay, cool. So now I'm like, okay, I'm kind of, figuring out where her grid is. She says, God told me that he's not happy with your tattoos, and that, he's not going to bless you until you either remove or cover your tattoos. And then you tell everyone that you talk to that, that you got your tattoos before you knew the truth of God, and that, because you're an influencer, and because you're an influencer, you're going to negatively influence these other people to get tattoos, then they're not going to get blessed by God. And so I was, and of course I listened, I was attentive, and I was, emotionally present, mentally present, being a good listener. And so I said, hey, thank you so much. I appreciate you being obedient to what you feel felt God was telling you, have a nice day. It was kind of how I wrapped it up there. And so she's like, okay, I hope you're not mad. I said, no, hey, if that's what you feel God wanted to tell me, that's fine. Okay, so boom. So, and the thing with me, for those of you who know me or don't know me, I have sometimes what's called delayed intelligence. So my gerbils don't work as fast as some of y'all's gerbils do. And I did not think of some good stuff to share with her until an hour later, after I had some time to think about what happened. If she's back next Sunday, I will definitely have a conversation with her, though, for the following reason. I'd love to hear what your thoughts were about her feedback that she felt came from God. So after I had some time, I'm going to give you my feedback. After I had some time to think about it, I thought, wow, this is an example of how our emotional intelligence and emotional health impacts what and how we hear from God. And if we hear from God, to be honest with you. Because now, again, whatever your denomination is, right, is fine. For me, I love Jesus, and that's my, Jesus is my jam. I have a personal relationship with him, and that is my faith. So what I know about God and the 30 years, let's see, how old am I? No, 35 years that I've spent in the Word and in a relationship with him, I know that God cares, and I'm just coming from a biblical basis. God cares, well, before I even say that. So what I thought was interesting was the lady that was wearing the AC/DC shirt, it may have been her first Sunday at our church. So now what's going through her head? Wow, okay, the people at this church, they don't care that I came to church, they just care what I wear at church. So like evidently God, and because this lady said, hey, this is from God, this lady could think, well, man, if this lady's talking from God, God cares more about my t-shirt than the fact that I'm learning more about him. So you see how jacked up that is, right? And then for me too, right? So what she talk about for me? My tattoo. So what's the theme? What's the thread of continuity there? In both scenarios, it's both external stuff. She didn't say one thing about our hearts. She didn't say one thing about anything internal. It was all external. And so, so I'll have a conversation with her, and thank God I can do it safely, and I didn't get emotional, nothing. Thank God. That's another proof of growth for me, of my own growth journey. But, what I want to ask her is, this lady, because this lady may not even read the Bible. I have no idea. I literally have never met her before in my life, other than what she told me. So I don't know if she's ever read the Bible. I don't know if she's been to church before. I don't know. Maybe this may have been her first time in church too. I have no idea. But I want to ask her, what do you feel God values? Does God value my tattoos and a t-shirt more than the status of my heart? Or are my tattoos and the t-shirt that I wear, or some other lady wears, is that going to prevent us from getting in heaven? And of course, biblically, there's a biblical answer for that. It's not, well, here's my opinion and here's her opinion. I don't care about either one, to be honest with you. I care about what God has written in his word. And so what I know about God is that God values what's inside more than what's outside. Now, does that mean that would God prefer that maybe I didn't have tattoos and that lady didn't wear an AC/DC shirt? I have no idea. But what I do know is God cares a whole lot more about my inside than about my outside. And I could rattle off quite a few verses that would be able to support my line of thinking and my logic. And so I just thought, man, that, again, I don't know her experiences. I don't know what's happened to her. Maybe people have been very critical of her, of how she dresses, or what she wears, or where she came from, or what side of the tracks she's from. I have no idea, right? Maybe, and that could be whether she's a baller. Maybe, I don't know if she came from, you know, a baller side of the tracks, or the wrong side of the tracks, whatever that side is. But it was just really interesting that, you know, I after, you know, she got done talking to me, I just clearly, and after I had time to think about it, that okay, this she definitely is focused more on the external, and I feel is communicating a message that she thinks is coming from God, but is not based in the Bible. And so I don't receive that word that she gave, because it wasn't biblically based, especially when she told me the other scenario, the other person that she, quote unquote, had a word of God for. Because for me, that would very much be, because she's made no comment about my heart or the lady's heart. She only made comments on our external appearance. And I absolutely know that God cares a whole lot more about the status of our heart than he does about the status of our appearance. And so anyway, just very interesting. And you know, so I'd ask you, how does your emotional health and emotional intelligence impact how you view God? There's a great book that, you know, I've talked about a number of times, Emotionally Healthy Spirituality by Pete Scazzero. Emotionally Healthy Spirituality by Pete Scazzero. The subtitle is, "It's impossible to be spiritually mature while remaining emotionally immature." It's impossible to be spiritually mature while remaining emotionally immature. Thank you all so much for subscribing and sharing and rating and reviewing. And again, this membership is going to be amazing. Check out eqgangster.com/mafia to get on that waiting list of the old EQ Mafia. Emotionally healthy people help heal other people emotionally.